Project Amelia Earhart is a plan to recreate Amelia Earhart's world-girdling flight. She was doing something different. Other people had flown around the world, but she decided that she was going to fly around the world at the equator. In other words, travel the greatest possible distance to go all the way around the Earth. Not only is this year the 80th anniversary of her flight, this year is also the 90th anniversary of Charles Lindbergh's flight across the Atlantic. So there's a lot going on in remembering these pioneers and their contribution to aviation. The work that people like Charles Lindbergh and Amelia Earhart and Wiley Post did, their actions, their activities were groundbreaking. They made it possible for us to do what we do today. In taking this flight and bringing people along with me, so to speak, through social media, being able to post information as I'm flying, post pictures and videos after every leg, I'm hoping that I'll be able to share some of the feelings and concepts and experiences with people around the world so that they can better appreciate what she was trying to accomplish. The airplane is a 1979 Mooney M20K, a 231. The number was the top speed of the airplane. Of course, we're adding a lot of avionics and radios and things for long-distance communication. We have satellite communications, high-frequency shortwave radio communications, in addition to the standard VHF standard aviation radios. Modifications to the engine, a new propeller that's going to be more efficient, modifications to the turbocharger system with a wastegate controller and an intercooler, and so the engine will be more efficient and burn a little bit less fuel. The airplane will go a little faster on less fuel. I'm starting here in Texas. My home field is Kestrel Air Park, just north of San Antonio. Be flying to Florida, from Florida down through the Bahamas, and stopping in Puerto Rico and Dominica. Dominica wasn't on her route, but it's one of my favorite places, and I really like the people there, and they've been bugging me to stop and visit, so I'm going to stop there. Continuing on to Trinidad. She landed in Venezuela, but unfortunately the political situation in Venezuela is not conducive to landing there. So I'll be stopping in Port of Spain, Trinidad, and refueling there before continuing on to Suriname, and then Brazil, Fortaleza, and Natal. And that's where I will start my Atlantic crossing, from Natal to Dakar in Senegal. So that's the crossing Atlantic. Stop, do some maintenance on the airplane in Dakar. And then continuing on across, at that point, I'm crossing the Sahara Desert, the entire breadth of Africa. I'll stop in N'Djamena in Chad, and then, which is the old Fort Lamy French Foreign Legion base. Then on to the Sudan, Khartoum, Oman, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Burma, Thailand, Indonesia, Australia, New Zealand, Fiji, and that's where that long leg is going to be, from Fiji to Hawaii, and then back to the United States. My next to last stop, I'm going to stop in Atchison, Kansas, which is Amelia Earhart's birthplace, before finishing the flight at Oshkosh at AirVenture 2017, which is the biggest air show, biggest aviation gathering in the world every year takes place at Oshkosh. And so I'm going to finish my my flight there, and I think that's a fitting place to end this venture. You know, one of the things that I do miss, my father taught me to fly when I was 14 years old. And he and I went everywhere, Canada, United States. Like I said, we flew to Paris for the Paris Air Show in 1985, nonstop across the Atlantic, also in a single engine aircraft like this. And it was just, aviation was something that we did together, something I've passed on to my sons. Both of my sons are pilots. And I think he'd want to go with me if he was here. He and I certainly had a great time flying across the Atlantic. But he and I talked about making this trip, flying around the world. Conditions never were right for us to do that. He died a couple years ago. I know every time I fly by myself, I look over at that seat next to me and I expect to see him sitting there. So, yeah, I think that, first off, I think he would applaud me, and he'd be my biggest supporter, and if there was capacity in the airplane to carry another person, he'd be right there, and I will miss him on this trip, but I will think of him often. Right now, Project Amelia Earhart has a page on Facebook, facebook.com/Amelia Earhart 80, all one word. We are doing this through the auspices of the Classic Aircraft Education Museum, which is also located in Spring Branch, Texas. And that is a 501c3 nonprofit corporation. We would love donations. Anybody who would like to help support anything from $1 on up will help support this flight, and we could definitely use that. All contributions are going to be tax deductible charitable contributions. So, you know, if you'd like to take a little bit off your taxes, we could certainly use your help.